we've got a pump capacity here of about 700 litres per minute. So there was a little bit of panic when the water coming out was more than we had pump capacity for, but we were installing extra pumps.
The jackhammer crews can't break this wall down to let the TDM in until all the water is soaked up on the other side of the wall. Project manager Jens Henriksen is getting a first-hand look.
From 1,000 litres per minute, we're down to about 10 litres per minute now.
Right. But how come we didn't know about that?
Good question, Jens.
It's an underground stream the TDM hit unexpectedly, says Robin. Now this crew is preparing a grout to contain it. They'll inject it directly into the wet zone. It's a polyurethane mix, which expands 7 times when it hits water. Soon, both TDMs will shove off from the Uskadar station for the immersed tunnel. It will take 4 months to reach it. It's quiet under the Bosphorus these days. The tunnel is a ghost town. The last segment has been lowered. Now, only a skeleton crew remains, tying in rebar between the segments. But across town, at Yenikaba, there's big news. News that could finally kickstart the much-delayed Marmarai project. One giant step closer to completion. Another hot summer draws to a close in Istanbul. The Marmarai project moves ahead. Slowly. But there's remarkable progress at Yenikaba, site of the biggest delay on the project. After 4 years, the archaeologists have finally surrendered one corner of the site to the engineers. Now, Hussein Belkia, the man who wears 2 hats, proud Turk, frustrated engineer, can keep his hard hat on.
Now it is our turn. This is construction and engineering now. We know this game and we love this game. Now we are going to launch our tunnel boring machines in this area.
The engineers have been on hold at Yenikaba for years. But to project manager Jens Henriksen, it's a worthwhile trade-off.
Well, what is 5 years compared to 8,000 years of history? I think it has to be preserved.
Some things are too preserved. Those condemned buildings still stand, hindering the enlargement of the subway tunnels.
Yeah, well, here we are, 7, 8 months later since your last visit, the building's still standing. We're still in the process of doing all the necessary documentation.
In Turkey, it takes a lot of paperwork to knock a building down.
It certainly does require a lot of paperwork and maybe a lot of patience as well.
Despite the delays above, work continues below Sirkici. Tunnel manager Gökbora Akai is making some progress. But he's only enlarging sections of tunnel that aren't under those condemned buildings above. Until those buildings go, his hands are tied.
Well, I was very worried about the Balaton, the settlements on the ground from the Balaton.
Yeah, it's not so much.
This is more safe.
Safe, yes,
Yes.
very safe.
That's good, guys.
This
Easily.
section,
Yeah.
this section there is not too much. There's no receivable wind top of the tunnel. Well, it's
For now, Gökbora is not working on the opposite end of the tunnel. That's where the condemned buildings are.
And what about that way?
that way. We'll
Wait a little bit until we have buildings under
Yes,
control.
yes. After building issue is
Yes.
solved, then we will excavate to this direction.
At some point, Gert Bohr's crews will have done all they can do.
So what happens if they don't tear the buildings down?
Eğer binalar kaldırılmazsa biz aşağıda tünel çalışması yapamayız.
So the buildings have to come down.
Yes. Evet, evet, kesinlikle.
In the end, the tunnels at Sirkeci will be completed. There's too much invested not to. A few months later, a new construction technique is enlisted. Beef up the ceilings with steel beam arches so the tunnels can be enlarged safely before the buildings are torn down.
So we could stop and do nothing until the bureaucracy was in place to demolish the buildings, or we could take special measures underground which will prevent settlement at surface. So there's no risk to the building, but the project and the excavations can still proceed. So that is the strategy that we're now taking.
It's been a long haul, but worth it.
But it's not only the past, it's also the future generations. They couldn't care about 5 years delay. They could care about their background, their history, and where they come from. So I still think this project is different, it's difficult, but it's very useful and very interesting.
And soon, the long-suffering commuters of Istanbul will get their subway by the new completion deadline in 4 years' time.
That is our target, and we must do it. We don't have any other choice. Istanbul citizens are waiting for so long. We must give them a hope that Marmaray project didn't finish on time.